I'm actually going to start on page 5 of the robot game, what is it called? Robot game rules. Thank you. Robot game rule book. And then I'm going to start on page 5, and then I'm going to jump to the middle, and then I will go back to that. So we'll first talk about the field setup. Turn so I can see if I'm on camera. I am on camera. Hello, people. It's so nice to see you. Welcome back. We're going to get ready to do a fun season. All right. So the first thing on the field setup is where the mat goes. We want to make sure we've got our mat in the right place. So our mat will actually be flush to the south wall and flush to the east wall. And up in that top corner, there is kind of a rosette, or what do they call that? A map rose that shows where north, west, south, and east are. So you want to make sure it's pulled flush and then pushed all the way to the right. We have not yet decided if your team needs to, they can put a small piece of tape along this line. You can't see me. Put a small piece of tape on this line. It cannot go over that line. It has to be on that line. And we're going to kind of make that decision. We'll let you know before the first tournament, but we're just going to see how these mats are holding up before we decide if we're going to put that down. So if you've got a team that is going in and out of home over there, you might want to practice with tape and without tape. Okay. The next thing we talk about is making sure that your mission models that should be dual lockdown are dual lockdown in the correct places. And if you follow through the instructions, they do a really nice job this year showing exactly which ones should be stuck down and which ones should not be stuck down, which ones are kind of free floating out there. All righty. And then we're going to jump to the rules. So we're actually going to go to page 21 in your game rule book. I've already talked about the mat placement. There we go. And the dual lock. Did I talk about that? All right, now we're ready for the robot game. Like I said, we forgot how to do all this stuff. All right, so for the rules, we'll flip one page. So the most important thing to keep in mind is how the rules are laid out. And what they've got there, every rule has a blue box on there. And basically, it tells you the rule and the rule number. The purple information is just kind of information. It kind of gives you a background about it. The black text is the main facts about the rule. That is the stuff that we're looking for. That's important things. And then if they use blue or italics underneath that, that's kind of an extra point of information. So something that pay attention. And the things that we're wanting to keep in mind, I've had a lot of questions. If you have questions about rules, feel free to send me an email. That's Jeannie. Did I introduce myself? Jeannie. Jeannie at High Tech Kids. Send me an email. I can get that to our head referees and help you with those some of those questions as well. So we're going to go through some of the rules fairly quickly. Not every single rule. The big rule about the rules is read them and then read them again. The more you read them, especially once you get into the kids solving some of the missions and they're like, is this legal? Can we do this? That's when you want to read that rule, read it again. Make sure you're reading actually the words of the rules. Don't let the kids kind of try and make the rules fit what they want to do or not fit what they want to do. All right. So we're going to talk about rule number 1. Rule number 1 is equipment. So the equipment is anything you bring to a match for a mission. It has to be made out of Lego. It can have only one controller. So controller is your brick. This is an EV3 brick. This is a Spike Prime brick. So you can have only one. That's okay. You can have only one controller, okay, at the table. You can have 4 motors. You can have any number of sensors. You can swap sensors in and out if you want. The thing about the motors is if you have 2 driving motors and a motor on this attachment and a motor on another attachment, but you've got another motor and you're like, oh, we're going to swap that one out and I'll still only have 4 on my robot. Nope, it's 4 at the table at a time. So you cannot have a motorized attachment that comes in and is attached. So only 4. If you show up with 5, we're going to ask you to bring one back and leave it at the pits. Okay. You can also have a sheet of paper with your rules written down. That's fine. We're not going to count that against you. The sensors that are legal are pictured here. The biggest one to kind of keep in mind is that if you're using a retail kit of either the EV3 or the Spike Prime, the retail kit is that light blue kind of turquoise one. Those actually come with an infrared sensor that looks a lot like the ultrasonic sensor. And that's one that you could use as a remote control to drive your robot. And that is not legal. So if you've got the retail kit, it's the one with kind of the slot eyes. That one is not legal. So don't use that one. All right. This year, they kind of added, so rule number 2, software and control. This is kind of exciting. Basically, you can use pretty much any software to program your robot. You can use the EV3 Lab. That's the old one with the blocks that we're used to. EV3 Classroom. That's the newest one. It's very scratch based. You can use the EV3 the Spike Prime to program the Spike Prime. You can use Python. For the EV3s, that's Python has to be loaded in on an SD card. On the Spike Prime, it can be run natively there, but you have to make sure that the programs are run from the robot, okay? So it has to be downloaded to the robot. They have to run it from the robot. They cannot run it from a laptop or a tablet. So if your kids are practicing that during their practice sessions, that's fine. But when they get to that tournament, make sure they know how to run that robot. The program is directly from the robot brick, okay? Not running it from a tablet. All right, and we are gonna ask you to turn your Bluetooth off at the tournament. So again, if you've been downloading from your tablets, your iPads to your Spike Primes or your EV3s, and maybe you wanna find another way to do that, or you can download those in the pits away from other robots, but we're gonna ask that the Bluetooth is turned off, okay? Rule 3, your robot is defined as your controller and any equipment that is included with that. That may be attachments that you have. It may be containers or devices that you're using to deliver that. And these are things that may separate by hand. So this is equipment. And that is, again, my controller. My robot is my controller and any equipment that is attached to it. Mission 4, or rule 4, sorry. I'm going to go through some of these rules kind of fast. You guys read them. They're kind of there. Rule 4, mission models. Those are any of the models that are at the table when you show up. They're the pre-built ones. They're attached to the mat, or they may be loose in home. Okay, so these are objects on the field when you arrive. Rule 5 talks about precision tokens. Those are in the corner of the mat. Those are those red discs. Practice with those in place. At the tournaments, they will be there. So it'd be pretty hard to get back there this year. But just practice with them on there so the kids see them and that they know that they're there. Rule 6, missions. Missions are one or more tasks that can be completed for points. The big thing about the missions, you don't have to do them in order just because they're numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can do, and you can combine them. So you could do mission 3 and 6 at the same time, and that might be the first time your robot leaves. You can do them in any order. You do not have to do every mission. You might not want to try to do every mission. If you can, that's awesome. But let the kids do one mission, get some success, and then move on. So don't worry about getting all of them. Just work on 1 or 2, have some success, and then add on. Rule number 7 talks about what a match is. A match is just that 2.5 minutes. We say 3, 2, 1, Lego. The kids run their robot for 2.5 minutes, get as many points as they can. We do not stop in the middle if something goes kerplooey. So if the wheels fly off or the robot stops working, the match is going to continue on. So practice that too with your teams, that 3, 2, 1, Lego. And if they say, no, we're ready, you're like, okay, keep going. And again, as Vicki said, they will have 3 matches that will count. We'll have 1 practice round and then 3 matches, and we take just the highest score. Rule number 8 is talking about the technicians. So technicians are the kids who are running their robot, 2 at the table at a time, and you can decide how you want to do that. Maybe 2 kids will run 1 or 2 missions, and then they'll step aside, and another 2 will come in and take their turn and run a couple missions, and then maybe another 2 will step in there, or maybe 2 will run for an entire round, and a different 2 will run in the next round. So that's technicians at the table. If you're at the remote events, we really don't have as much control over that. So we'll probably ask that just 2 kids come in at a time. But at an actual tournament, those kids will have kind of a line back there that we'll ask them to stand behind. All right, and then our next one is equipment inspection. So this is a big deal. So there are 2 areas for their equipment. So there's the small inspection area, and that has this red arrow. You can't really see it on my mat. Wondering if it can come over with that camera and point it out. So there's kind of a red arrow, and it will extend that line. So your robot and any of the pieces, including your mission number 1, your project model, and any attachments have to all fit in this small area. And there is a 12-inch ceiling on this area. Okay, so that's pretty close, but that fits. When they come to the table, this other stuff might be in here. Those mission models, they can gently move those out of the way, but they should be practicing with them in there. So there's where the red triangle is. Just extend that across, okay? So everything needs to fit in here. They can use their hands to hold that down. They do have to take anything that was in a box out of the box, okay? And then as soon as the ref says, okay, you fit, then things can expand out, and then they can move things around as needed, okay? If they cannot fit in the small inspection area, there's a large inspection area, and that's over here, okay? That is this space to the left of that red dot. And again, these mission models will be here. We ask them to gently move them over, okay? And then to show the refs that everything fits in there. If everything cannot fit in this large inspection area, something has to go. It has to go away from the table, and it cannot be used for their robot runs. In Minnesota, we have not had a problem with this. Most of the teams in the last 2 years, since they've implemented the inspection area, have been able to fit into the small inspection area. So practice that with your kids. Make sure they know if they have to, they can stack things up. And again, as long as they're not 12 inches or taller, they'll be good. All right. Once they've passed the inspection, they can go ahead and spread things out into their home area. The thing that they need to keep in mind is everything that starts in home, even if they're not going to use it, has to be in home. They can't take it off and set it off to the side. So if they're not going to use the big turbine blade, that takes up a lot of space, make sure they're practicing with that in home. They can shove it off to the corner, but it has to stay in home. All right, any questions about that, Cheryl? Okay, all righty. And then rule 10, completely in. 100% of in, so a circle, 100% in includes that outer line, the line of the circle. It includes everything on the robot, including those pesky cables. So make sure when they're coming into home, okay, that those cables are in. Make sure when they're launching, that those cables are not sticking out over the back wall, because that was technically not be in. I don't know if I can show this. This arm sticking out, going over that line. We want to make sure that everything is in, okay? A lot of times our refs, not a lot of times, all the time, our refs are great. And they're going to, if the kid's kind of reaching for that before something's completely in, a lot of times the refs are going to say, hold on, don't grab it until it's crossed fully into home. Our team, our coach, our refs really want the kids to have the best experience and get as many points as they can. Okay. Field checks, rule 11. Field checks, that's making sure that the field is set. Our refs do the best job they can to kind of reset everything. This year, especially, our times are going to be tight. So our refs they're not going to hurry you through your events. We're trying to give you time, but we are going to be kind of moving a little bit quickly because we are on a tighter schedule than we've been before. So the kids should look over. If something's not right, they should ask the referee to check it. Maybe something's missing, something didn't get reset. We don't want the kids to reach over and reset it, but we do want them to ask the referee or point out to the referee, oh, can you lift that bridge up? We do that mission, okay? And again, that's a kid's responsibility. If they notice, well, the robot is running, that's too bad. The ref is not going to be able to go out and fix that while the robot is running, or if the robot knocks it over, they're not gonna be able to fix that. If you're doing the remote matches, that's for the teams that are gonna compete in that remote event. We're gonna do a practice. I think we're gonna do a technology check. Again, that's the team's responsibility to make sure those models are reset and ready. Cheryl.
Question, can the robot exit the mat entirely and be in home like 2 years ago, or is it back to the smaller home area on the mat itself?
I'm actually going to talk about home and the launch area in just a second, but yes, this whole area is home and the robot can go back either through this launch area or through there. Okay, and I'll talk about that. Actually, that is my next one. Rule 12 is talking about home. So we talked about the inspection area has a ceiling of 12 inches. Okay, home actually has no ceiling. So they can be this tall. If they're going to go and try this guy, this delivering this wind turbine, that is extending up pretty high. That's probably almost 24 inches. That's fine. Okay, it can't be out here before they hit launch, but it can be up here because there's no ceiling for home. Home is part of the field. This is your space. So home is this circle and all this black space. This is where you can handle your robot. You can set things, you can get things ready for running your next mission, putting your attachments on, putting things out that you're going to deliver. Okay. After any launch, the robot needs to return completely into home if you want to handle it. So when you're coming back, again, this what is that, a quarter circle is home. Over here is home. Way over there is home. And again, that robot has to come all the way back in, including its cables. Okay, so we want to make sure that's in. And it cannot extend over that back wall. All right, so you can kind of see that attachment's there. So they want to make sure they get in home all the way before they touch that robot. All right. Robot can only leave home from this launch area. This is that quarter circle. Okay, so the robot starts here, goes off, and then it can come back through here or there, and it can return home anywhere, like I said. All right, rule 13. Oh, more rules, sorry. So rule 12 continued is do not interact with things outside of home, except for rules 15 and 19, and we'll talk about those in a little bit. Basically, that means if your robot's out here, if you interact with it, you're going to get a precision token loss. You cannot strategically send or extend anything even partly out of home. So that's, I can't use this aiming jig to say, oh, I'm pointing at the airplane and then bring that back. Okay, I can't extend anything back out there. All right. Anything the robot affects or moves completely outside of home stays as it is, unless things happen. The kids are like, oh, they get nervous and they actually throw that attachment out that they were trying to put on. They can grab that. That's fine. Or if they're cruising out here, they've got equipment and it accidentally breaks off, our refs are going to let you carefully take that back in and pick it up as needed. Now, if I delivered that, that's different. But if something accidentally breaks off, the kids can carefully grab that and bring that back into the home and the launch area. Cheryl.
We have a question about jigs. Can you use jigs for the launch area that extend into home?
I have just sent first so Cheryl's question was, can we use jigs that extend into this home area? It does not specifically say this year. So my answer right now is going to be no. The jig will have to be in that launch area because nothing can extend out of the launch area. Now I have sent first a question, and if you guys are wondering that, send them the question as well. The more times they hear it, if they hear it from a lot of teams, then they will issue an update, and that update will be official. And I'll talk about kind of the order of what things are official. For right now, I'm going to say no, because they have not specifically said a jig is allowed or not allowed to stick into that home area. But as soon as we hear it, we will actually include that in a blast and we will put that on our website when we hear it. And again, if you have that question, other people have that question. So send those questions to first. And again, for every launch, the robot is about to move, everything has to be fit completely in that area. And then right after that launch, the launch area becomes part of home, which is weird, but that's what they say. All right, so to launch, you're gonna check with the referees. The referees are gonna check that the robot and everything it's about to move is completely in the home. I'm sorry, in the launch area. Oh, easy on, easy off. Let me get that on there. Okay, so it can't be sticking out. The refs will make sure that the technicians are not holding anything from moving, anything that's got stored energy, so they can't be holding this motor back. All right, once the refs are okay with that, they'll give thumbs up. And once all 4 tables are ready, all the refs will give thumbs up. First launch of the match is 3, 2, 1, Lego. You can go on the of the Lego. After other launches, those can happen as soon as you're ready, bringing your robot back, set things up. You can run that next mission and next mission. Again, making sure that that ref knows what's going on with you. The refs will not start the matches if you're not ready. So if you're not ready, ask the ref, say, oh, we're not ready yet. Now, we're not going to let you wait about 5 minutes, but 1 minute, we've got a little time for you to get ready. So don't let them push you too fast. Make sure if you're not ready to go, you just say, wait, we're not ready. Okay. Rule number 15. Oh, Cheryl. Oh, okay. I thought you gave me a face. No. All right. So rule 15 is interruption. Now, this is kind of funny how they've worded it. So interruption is anytime you interact with a launched robot or any object touching it. You can interrupt the robot for any reason, but make sure you're studying rules 15 and actually the robot game rule book says rule 19, but it's actually rule 18. That was in update number 4. The best place to interrupt your robot is when it's completely in home. So home again is that quarter circle and all this black area over here. Do not use perfect timing. Do not use your eyes as a sensor to interrupt and to get points for something. That our refs aren't going to like that, and they're not going to let that go. If the robot returns to home and you do not interrupt it, so this is kind of one, I've already been asked this question twice. If the robot is coming in here and you set something there and don't touch it, that robot can actually come into this home area, grab it, and go back out. That's okay. Okay. But I cannot, that robot can't come into this home area and I drop something on it. I actually put my hand on it. That would not be allowed. Or if that robot just needs a little more space, they can come a little bit into home. Maybe it's going over here to do the cargo mission. That's okay if its little feet just get a little bit into the home area. All right, so it's interact with it. Make sure they don't touch it, because if they touch it and it's partially in home and out on the field, that will actually be a loss of a precision token. All righty. Interruption procedure. If you're going to interrupt the robot, especially if it's out there, stop it, carry it home if it's not there. And again, the rule is if it was completely in home, no big deal. If it's not completely in home, it's out here, they're going to lose a precision token. Okay. There are 3 exceptions to this rule of when we can interrupt. A mislaunch. So we've hit Lego, 3, 2, 1, Lego. Our robot starts going out. Oh my goodness, we ran the wrong one. If it has not left that launch area, they can grab it. They do have to set it down and relaunch. They have to start their program over. They can't just, oh, that's not the right way, and give it a little tap, 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 and the robot keeps going. They can't do that. They can't pull it back and just let it go. They're gonna have to stop it and relaunch. Okay. There's a motor saving exception. So maybe your robot's out here, it's maybe the end of the match, and it's just kind of running up against this wall, running, and we're not going to do it. The kids aren't going to do any more missions. They can say, hey, always ask the ref or tell the ref what they're doing. They can say, we're done. Can we turn off the robot? Or you can ask the ref to turn off the robot. You can say, I'm done. Can you turn off the robot for us? That way the robot isn't trying to burn out its motors on that. Okay. The same thing is at the end of the match, maybe this is the last thing your team does is they're in the Cargo Connect circle. They've delivered some things there. If the robot is just sitting there, it's at the end of the match. They've got 10 seconds left, 5 seconds left, 30 seconds left. They can say, ref, we're done. Can we turn off the robot? And the robot, well, the ref will say yes. Maybe the ref will turn it off, but they should not grab that robot and bring it back into home. They should leave that where they pushed the button and stopped it. Okay, we want to make sure I'm getting the thumbs up from a former head ref who is a new High Tech Kids employee. We're very excited that Bruce Chenoweth has come to the dark side. He's joined us at High Tech Kids. All right. Then a few more rules. I'm going to go over these a little bit quicker. These are things that, again, kind of reading. Cargo is basically something that was kept, captured, released, or moved. So cargo would be maybe the package that's being delivered. Okay. Maybe cargo is this container that is really nice and close to home. Okay. Bring that back. So that is cargo. Then there's a couple interruptions with cargo, a couple rules about interrupting with cargo. If your robot had cargo when you left home here, and again, something went kerplooey, our robot drove off the wrong way. Okay, we're like, oh, that's not where we wanted to go. And they can grab that. If they left home or launch with this piece of cargo, they get to keep it and try it again. That's cool. Okay, now if they went out to get this container and didn't come all the way back and they touched their robot for some reason, that piece of cargo that they were trying to bring back, the ref is going to take it away. So they're not going to get a chance to do that one again. So if it started out there and they're trying to bring it back, they don't get it. But if they left home with it or left launch with it, sorry, they get to keep it and try it again. Okay. Rule number 19, stranded cargo. So that's cargo when you're touching, your robot's touching it and you touch the robot. Stranded cargo, so that's something you left with. Well, whoops, we dropped it out there and the robot's no longer touching that piece of cargo. Okay. If the robot's not touching it, we grab this robot, we get our robot back, we lose a precision token, but that piece of stranded cargo stays out there on the field. We call that living in your mess. That's what we used to call it when I had teams. Okay. Then here's another kind of weird rule. So if that stranded cargo, so again, we drop it and it's partly outside home. This was an update in update number 6. They changed the wording. So in your rule book, pretty much cross out rule 19, the way they've got it written, and go to update number 6 and read it. The newest update gives you a little more leeway. And basically what they say is if it's partly outside of home, you may take it into home. It doesn't say you must take it into home. But if the kids decide to take it into home, so maybe a piece of equipment, this is maybe a container I was delivering out there, if that's partway in home, okay, and home is over here as well. If it's a piece of equipment and they decide to take it into home by hand, if it's equipment, they lose a precision token. If it's a piece of cargo, that kind of got stuck halfway in between there. If it's a mission model, the referee will actually take that away. So it may be beneficial for those kids to maybe leave that if it's stranded right on that line, and maybe they can do a rescue mission. But they're given the choice with that. So the change of the word was from must take it in to they may take it in. So again, that may be something the kids want to practice with. All right, rule number 20. This is a big one, I think, especially this year. Interference. Robot cannot interfere with the opposing field or robot. The big deal is that helicopter package. Vicki, you want to show the helicopter over there? So that helicopter package, that's my helicopter, but that is actually hanging over your opponent's home. Okay. That is a tempting little piece of mission model to grab off there. You are not allowed to do that. You are not even allowed to do that with your robot if you're so clever. That has to stay on there. The only way that package can drop is if the team from the other side drops it into your home or you drop that into your neighbor's home. Okay, so that's a big deal. We will be watching for that, and that is tempting. So make sure the kids know that a package will get dropped in their home, hopefully, and then they can use that to deliver to the Cargo Connect circle, but they cannot just reach over and grab that opponent's helicopter package. Rule 21 is field damage. If the robot goes out, we know these things happen, but if they purposefully knock something off the dual lock to make the mission easier, that is not allowed. Ooh, that was not a good one to do. Okay. If it's the field stays as it is, if they do that, the refs are not going to fix that. They're not going to try and put that dual lock back together, especially if something like that makes the mission easier. Okay, and actually they won't get the mission points for that at all. You'll probably get away with it once, but you're not going to get away with it 3 times because those refs talk to each other. All right. Rule 22, end of match scoring. Everything is scored at the end. So if your kids scored something and then they undo it, so what could I undo? So the chicken, so they've got the chicken in place, and then, all right, so they left him there, and then they move him out, okay? He's no longer in his circle, he's no longer in scoring position, all right? If they somehow knock this down and then knock it back up, I don't know how you do that, but everything is scored at the end of the round. That's why we want to make sure if they're going to turn off that robot, you know, at the end here, and it's in that Cargo Connect circle, make sure that they leave it there, especially if they've got scoring things going on there. And then they'll walk through the missions with the ref one by one to make sure that they're getting all the scoring that they need. The referee does the score. This year we're pretty excited. We're going to score on the tablets instead of pieces of paper. So the kids will go through, they're not going to see the score. They're not see how many points. They'll basically see yes, no, 3 containers in, things like that. And then there will be a spot on the tablet where they will say, I agree with all these things. I think we decided our refs are going to push the button for them, but the kids are going to say, I agree. And that is going to send their score to the scoring software. And then, just lost it. If they are not sure, if they don't agree with what the ref is saying, they have the right to ask the head ref to come over and look at the score. If the table gets reset, it's hard for that head ref to kind of figure out what really happened. The kids don't have to click on that if they think that the ref is making a mistake. Our refs are human. But just make sure the kids, not the coaches, ask graciously for the head ref to come over and look at the score. That's what our head refs like to do. Well, they like to interact, but they want to make sure that kids can get the points if they should be getting the points. Now, if when that score hits the scoreboard and it's crazy off, then we're going to want those kids to go to the head ref and say, hey, that doesn't make sense. And we can do a review, and maybe when they submitted, they missed something, but we're probably not going to be able to go back in time, and we're absolutely not going to use video replay. So even if mom and dad have it on camera, whatever those kids agree to. Now, if it's crazy off, we'll talk with that head ref and we'll try and figure out what we're going to do from there. Okay. Oh, that's right. So we will actually have the exact app that the kids will be seeing with the referees. We will have that on our website. It is not there yet. We're still making some changes. We've kind of found some cool things that we want to tweak a little bit to make it a little bit easier, but we will let you know in a blast from Vicki when that is out there. But it'll be out there probably mid-October is my thought. So they'll see the exact same screen that they will be seeing on their refs' tablets. Rule 23, again, this is one that I've answered a few times already this season, direct wording. The robot game text means exactly and only what it says. Don't read stuff into it. If a word's not defined in the detailed game text, use its common conversational meaning. If a detail is not mentioned, it does not matter. And we'll talk about that when we get to mission number 2. That seems to be the one that's driving everybody crazy. Rule 24, information ranking, as I talked about. So there are several information sources. The highest level is the most recent updates. Those are take kind of precedent over everything. The next authority is the missions as they're written in the robot game rules. And then the field setup. And one thing you want to keep in mind is, and then text in the rule setup and in the rules takes precedent over pictures. They have done an update on one that had better pictures, so that even helps a little bit more. Videos, emails, and forum posts, especially Facebook, have no authority. There's lots of YouTube videos. They're already out there with a lot of points. They're getting lots and lots of points. They're doing it wrong. They're misinterpreting the rules. So just because they see something on YouTube or they read something or the coaches read something on Facebook, that has no precedent. Okay, so your updates, your robot game manual. All right, rule 24 or 25, benefit of the doubt. Our referees are always trying to give the kids the benefit of the doubt. So they're not going to be real nitpicky on this. If it could go either way, the refs are probably going to give those kids the points. Okay. And then rule 26, like I said before, final results when you get the score, that's when it's official. Once the kids have pressed that button, that is their score. And again, the best score is what counts. So if they have 5 points less this time, they might get 5 points more next time. Don't make a big deal out of it. Ties are broken using those. You're their second and third best scores. I think that's it. And then what's my next slide? Major rules that changed. Adding the micro SD card. That's a big change. If they're using the Python on their EV3, they have to use that micro SD card. Rule 6, they just kind of did a better clarifying of what are the missions in what order they go. Rule number 9, again, like I said, you can use your hands to help equipment fit in that inspection area. Rule 12, they just kind of gave a better image. So really check out rule 12 so you know where home is, launch is, and launch and home. And then again, the end of match interruptions, exceptions have been clarified. That's when you're asking that referee, is it okay if I turn on my robot, or asking the referee to turn off your robot. All right. And are there any questions, Cheryl? All right, so then we're going to go back to your book and we're going, whoops. Okay, one question.
How many teammates can be at the table? Can they swap out?
So, yep, that is actually in one of the rules. It's on technicians. So 2 technicians are what they call in the teammates. So 2 teammates, 2 technicians can be at the table at a time, but absolutely they can swap out, so they can have 2 kids over there ready to come in and run the next missions. Now, something important is all your equipment that you're going to use has to be in the home area. So those 2 technicians, they can be ready to go, but they cannot be holding their attachments and any mission models that they're going to be running. Okay, so those have to stay on the table. Now, when they get to the table, they can pick those up and be waiting for that robot to come in, but they've got to stay, everything has to stay in this home area. And again, that's why I said, if you're not using certain mission models, make sure they're still practicing with them on the table, because they will be on the table at the tournament. Okay, all righty. All right, so we will jump to page 11 in the game guide, and we're going to, I don't know. I think I already talked about this. All right, so mission. So this is the example layout. And again, this is on page 11, and this is kind of showing you what each of the missions look like. So they have mission pictures, a field location. I'm glad they added this. This kind of helps figure out. And then a little blah, blah, blah. It's not used for scoring. It's kind of a fun, why is this mission even out there? How does this tie into transportation? So I think that's a great learning opportunity. And then for the kids to figure out why is there a big wind turbine on the field this year. The requirement is written in black text that's underneath. That lists the main requirements. The points are listed in the bright red. And then keep watching for those blue italics. These are important things to keep in mind. Some leniencies or just helpful other facts are going to help you get going. And then pictures across the bottom. I've not seen any pictures that are glaringly wrong this year. Yay. So pretty much the missions are pretty well written, we're thinking this year. There have been updates. There have been 7 updates. They were issued the day the challenge was released, and we have not seen an update since then. I do anticipate there's 2 that I think might be coming. Like I talked about, Jigs, I think, would be an update that'll be coming. We put those on our website as soon as we get them. Okay, so you can always check our website for those. All right, and then we will start with missions. So mission 0, equipment inspection. Again, I talked about that quite a bit. That's everything their robot, everything they're bringing to the table, any attachments. If they're bringing the project model, which is mission 1, that is considered equipment. So that has to fit in that inspection area as well. It does have that 12-inch ceiling. If everything fits there, that's great. That's 20 points. Okay. And again, we have not seen any teams. If they need to, they can move that stuff out of the way so everything can fit, and they can stack it up if they need to, as long as it doesn't go higher than 12 inches. All right. So that's mission 0. Mission 1, they come. This is, you get 2 bags of white pieces. This is bag 16. Okay, so you're going to get 2 bags of white pieces. You don't have to use all these pieces. Oops, I'm sorry, Cheryl's got a question.
Oh, we're not seeing the white bags. Or we need this.
All right, hang on 1 second, 2 seconds. All right, so you get 2 bags of white pieces. You do not have to use all these white pieces. You have to use at least 2 white pieces, okay? You are not going to build that at the table. They are going to come with that built. It does not have to be an exact replica of their innovation project. It can be whatever they want. Our refs are not going to go, does this match your innovation project? They're not worried about that. It has to be at least 2 white Lego pieces. It has to measure at least 4 Lego studs in some direction. It has to have, so then what we're doing with this one is they will launch out, go out, and they're going to deliver that to the Cargo Connect circle. It has to have some part of it touching the Cargo Connect circle. That means it has to be touching the mat. It can't be on top of your robot. That is not touching, okay? It can be partly in or completely in, it doesn't matter. It can be on its side, it can be on its head. That's a cool balancing trick. It has to be touching the mat. It has to be at least partly in that circle. Okay, and that's 20 points. That's a fun one. Let them get creative. Let them build something kind of cool with their white pieces. That's a hint. All right, so mission number 2, unused capacity. Mission 2, this one is driving people crazy. If the hinge container is completely closed, so there are 6, the hinge container, the hinge blue container, starts out on the field, okay? If that comes in the home, okay, the kids can put the pieces in. If they get 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, partly full and close that, that's 20 points. If they can get it completely full, which is a little bit of a Tetris puzzle, and they can close the lid, that's 30 points. Okay, it does not have to be delivered back to that same spot. Okay, actually they can't do that with their hand. The robot does not have to deliver it back out there. If that is open, if the cover is not closed, that's nothing. That's 0 points. So that is something that they want to practice. They're going to get nervous. They're going to get excited, or they're going to be fiddling with pieces over here and maybe lose a piece. So have them practice putting those pieces in. Okay. Hang on 1 second. You actually get 12 of those pieces in your kit. Take 6 of them and hide them, because I guarantee these pieces are going to get lost. So take those 6, hide them, put them somewhere, but have them practice with those 6 pieces on the table, not 12. There will not be 12 there, just 6. Cheryl has a question.
Can they have notes on how to load it?
They can have notes on that 1 sheet of paper. They're allowed 1 sheet of paper. And that sheet of paper can have their mission models on it. It can have their lunch menu, but yes, it could have directions on how they want to load that up and practice, because that is, you get nervous.
And can you say again that the kids put the pieces in, the robot doesn't?
The kids, I would love to see a robot that figured out how to do that, but no, the robot does not have to put those pieces in. If that comes back into home, okay, and those pieces are right here, that is maybe that second technician's job. When that thing gets into home, put those pieces in. That one's not gonna work, Jeannie, so I've already gotten nervous. Oh, I can only get 5. I close that, okay? They may want to use that for another mission later on, or they may want to just leave it where it is. My suggestion, if they're going to leave it right here, is to make sure when the ref is going around and talking about each of the missions that they point out, hey, here's mission 2 right here, okay? And then the ref will, not the kids, the ref will open that up, tip out and count how many pieces are in there, okay? Lots of questions on that one, just because it's a little bit vague, and it's supposed to be, and that's okay. Don't add more to it. Read the rules as they're written. All right, mission 3 is unload the cargo plane. So Vicki, I'm going to move over here. So unload the cargo plane. So they're coming over here, bringing that yellow down. Okay, so there's 2 scoring points here. If the yellow is the plane is all the way down, so it's touching the black frame. It has to be touching, and this thicker yellow piece will actually be touching black frame. If that's all the way down, that's 20 points. If the cargo plane has been unloaded, so the container is completely separated from the plane, that's another 10 points, okay? If somehow they put that back up, I don't know how they do that, but this is unloaded, okay? Now the containers, it's no longer completely down, so they wouldn't get those points, but they would get the unloaded, okay? That starts like this. You just kind of load it back there, and again, just opening that. Now we have, I'm calling this my naughty cargo plane, and I've heard a few people asking about this. We've got some cargo planes that are opening on their own, okay? This is one that I think first we'll have to issue an update for. At our tournaments, we are going to try and make sure all of our cargo planes are up and open. I mean, up and closed, completely closed. But if you're practicing with one partly open, just know that ours are going to be completely closed. If you've got one that is acting kind of ornery like that, practice with that, but make sure the kids are ready that it may be higher, it may be lower, all right? And that is one that I think first is going to issue maybe an update on, because it seems that even if you build it correctly, some of those cargo planes are kind of opening a little bit, all right? If you have questions about that, feel free to send me an email on that.
Got a few questions.
Okay, Cheryl.
Is the cargo in the plane before they start their mission?
Yes, the cargo is loaded in the plane, and Vicki can kind of get a back shot of that. There is a ledge that it should be sitting on. So when you put that all the way up, there's a kind of a little ledge that is holding that container on.
And we have another question. Do the teams bring the pieces, or will they be at the competition?
At the competition, we will have all the pieces you need. Please, please, please do not bring your pieces. Except for your innovation challenge, that we will not have bags of white pieces at the tournament. No way. But for practice tables, you will want to bring your own pieces to the practice tables. Put your numbers on them, your team numbers or your school name or something like that. But do not bring them to the performance table, the game table, but you will need them for the practice. We will ask teams to bring their mat. Maybe we'll probably have 2 or 3 practice tables at every tournament. We will ask teams, please bring your mat, and we will ask someone to graciously set up the mat with all the things that are stuck down, but they are not going to leave their loose pieces, okay? So if you've got to practice, if you do that airplane or this cargo, make sure you're bringing the container that goes inside of it. Okay, is that? All right, mission 4 is transportation journey. This is kind of a neat one. So if the truck has reached its destination, and again, this is not your hand doing it, this is your robot doing it. Destination is completely past that blue line. Okay, that's 10 points. If the airplane has reached its destination, that one's tough. And actually he didn't. So I just kind of gave you a little hint there. So if that plane has to get all the way past that blue line can be extended all the way. So if it happens to be way over here, I don't know how you do that, but one thing, and then if they do both of those missions successfully, they get a 10-point bonus, okay? And then I'm going to show this setup a little bit. It seems like people are wanting to put that behind that nubbin there. It's got to be in front so that it can push the plane. And in front to push the truck. And if you're looking down here, you can see the circles are giving you an idea of the direction the truck should be. All right. So again, pushing that. It's not a super hard push, but it's a pretty decent push to get it over there. Kind of a neat mechanism to launch that. All right. And then our next one, I'm just going to keep moving around the table. Mission number 5 is a switch engine. Okay. And pretty much it's switched so that the yellow bar rests all the way down, pointing south. Okay. So that's 20 points. In the pictures, they kind of show that middle one is with it up here, that's 0. That's pretty hard to do with the mechanism, but if I've got an attachment or my robot is stuck underneath there, that's not completely down, okay? So they would not get the points maybe if their robot was in the way. Now, I do want to point out one thing. When you first build this mission model, before you dual lock it down, it will kind of catch on the flip, all right? It's not quite tall enough. It doesn't give enough clearance. Once you put the dual lock down, then it will have clearance and it'll flip nicely, okay? So if yours is not dual lock down and it's catching and you think, oh no, I've done something wrong, don't rebuild it twice like some of us did.
Gina did.
All right, so that's why I'm telling you that, so you don't make the same mistake I did. All right, mission number 6. All right, we're gonna put this one here. Mission number 6 is accident avoidance. This is one where your robot at the end of the match is parked over the blue accident avoidance line. It's not the tires of your robot. It's not the controller of your robot, any part of your robot. So you can see there, really only my color sensor and my touch sensor are over that blue line. All right. If the yellow panel is not knocked down, that's 20 points. So you have to be parked and the yellow not knocked down. If you're parked and the yellow is knocked down, that's 30 points. If that black frame gets knocked down, well, even if you're parked there, it's 0. Okay. So that is kind of the trade-off that we say, do you want to go for those extra 10 points or do you just want to get parked over that line and get the 20? All right. This is one mission model 2 that we have seen built incorrectly a few times. It's a simple mechanism, but make sure they're lining those things up correctly. So that should just tip in. And then if they go too far, it tips over. And that makes more sense once it's dual lockdown as well. All righty. Mission 7, we're going to unload the cargo ship. This is kind of a neat one. If the cargo container, it says green container, is no longer touching the cargo's, this is the east ship deck. This is the west ship deck. Say that carefully. If the green is no longer touching the deck, okay, that's 20 points. It really just has to be visibly lifted.
Pull it back a little bit.
Okay. See. So this is its starting point. And then what I want to point out is there should be a little ramp here. Okay. You can put this base piece actually on backwards accidentally. Make sure the ramps are here. And this little wheel should go up. And it just has to be lifted a little bit. All right. So that is 20 points. And then if the green container is all the way past the cargo's east ship deck, that's an additional 10 points. So this yellow is the deck. The black feet there are not. So our refs are just going to look down there and say, yep, you're past it. If they push it all the way, they'll clearly be way past it. Don't get messing too much with little nitty gritty. They can get past it there. And again, benefit of the doubt. But as long as it's past the edge of that yellow deck, they'll be good. All right, so that's a potential of 30 points. All right, mission number 8 is the airdrop. This is the helicopter. Okay. This is actually the guided mission that FIRST and LEGO have provided the code for. And I'm going to run the code real quick on my Spike Prime here. This is so this mission, this is the code that was provided. So you download it, it's on our website. It should eventually get into the software. It's not there yet. So if you want the guided mission for either the Spike Prime or the EV3, I didn't mean to push go, but I did. So it does a nice little line follow. This is a base model for the robot. It's going to go all the way out there. It's going to push the lever to drop the package, and then it's going to come running back home. For the Spike Prime, again, it will work with this configuration of the robot, and it works pretty good. But again, that's a long way to travel for only 20 points. So go ahead, download that code, look at it, have the kids kind of break it apart. You want me to do it again?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because they couldn't see the drop.
Oh. All right. Oh, we're going to get a super duper close up here. So again, it's doing a little line follow. The code unfortunately is not documented, so that's why the kids will kind of have to pull it apart and look at it a little bit. It's going to push there. It just backs up a little bit, and then he comes running back into home. So they have provided this for the Spike Prime software, and they have provided it for the EV3 classrooms. They have not provided it for the older EV3G or EV3 lab. Okay. The EV3, the one they provided for the EV3 classroom, will work on this education model. It's not as consistent as that little EV3, I'm sorry, the little Spike Prime. Okay, and again, that's kind of a trade-off on that. Now, one of the questions I was asked is, hey, we've got both an EV3 and a Spike Prime. That worked really nicely. Can we run one mission with the Spike Prime? Because that one works, and then bring our EV3 robot in? Nope. You can only use one controller per match, per round per match. You can run as many as you want with this one in round 1. Round 2, if you want, you can come in and use just the Spike Prime and run as many missions as you can. And then in round 3, you can run with this robot again. But you cannot use 2 robots in 1 round. Okay, that makes sense. All right. Mission number 9 is the train tracks. So way down here at the end, there's 2 parts to this one. If the train track has been repaired, so this train track starts up. If it's all the way down to the west, that's 20 points. It has to be all the way down, it says completely. And if the train has reached its destination and it's latched at the end, okay, the team does not have to pull it back, but the referee is going to pull that back to make sure that's latched. Okay, so if they don't quite get past that red, even though they're close, the ref isn't going to count that. They're going to have to go past that red with at least a chunk of that robot. And again, that ref is going to test that to make sure it's latched. Okay, so that's a possible of 40 points, 20 plus 20. All right, mission 10 is a sorting center. So this is kind of an interesting one. There are 3 pieces. So this will be set up randomly. The refs will change this each time. So what they'll do is they have the 3 containers. They'll start by placing the blue. The blue will go in any of the 3 bays, but the blue always goes on the bottom shelf. Okay. The light orange goes into any bay that's not used, and the orange will always go on the second shelf. And then the green will always go on the top shelf, and it will go into the open bay that is left, okay? So there's a couple different configurations of that. Okay, and then the rafts will push that so it'll be all the way flush to the back of that. So if that's one you do, you want to make sure the rafts have that set correctly, okay? To get points on that one, what they want to do is make sure only the orange is left and the orange is completely within this blue sorting bay area, okay? So it doesn't have to be in its place. It doesn't have to be nice and pretty. It can be anywhere in there, but it has to be completely in. So it cannot be hanging out over there. It has to be completely in that sorting area. And these containers can be used for other missions. So that one is 20 points if what they leave is the one orange in the bay. All right. And then mission 11, home delivery. I'm just going to grab this guy out of here. So home delivery, the package starts in home. The team will bring it out and will deliver it to the step, to the doorstep. The doorstep is pretty well defined. And in update number 7, I believe it was, they added 3 more pictures to give you a little more clarity on this. So if it is partly on, so hanging over a little bit, that's 20 points. If it's touching the mat and it's on there, that's partly on, that's 20 points. Touching the mat and touching is 0 points. That doesn't count. It has to be partially raised. You've got to have a little bit of raise there. Up here is nothing. It does have to be on that doorstep. And completely on the doorstep is 30 points. And that's completely on. It can be upside down. Hopefully there's nothing fragile in there. And just deliver like that. Okay. And again, that's at the end of the match. And it does not score if it's touching any equipment. So my robot's still touching that at the end of the match. That's not that. If that robot is still touching, that's not going to score. So it can't be touching any equipment at the end of the match. All righty. I'll leave that there. Mission number 12, large delivery. So this is that big turbine blade. So if the turbine blade is delivered out here and the blade is touching only the blue holder, this is a blue holder, and the mat, that's 20 points. If the turbine blade is touching only the blue holder and nothing else, 30 points. So again, I can't have some nice little container holding this guy up, okay? That's nothing if it's touching nothing else. So it can be touching the blue holder and the mat or just the blue holder. All right, and then I'll answer a question. This is part of the blue holder as well, that base down there. I've been asked that a couple times, okay? So again, don't read things in. They don't say the dark blue holder. This whole piece is the blue holder. All right, and this is the fun one. If the chicken statue is upright on its base with its base in the circle. So it has to be upright and its base. The base is the green part, okay? So it may get moved out of the way. He may get moved a little bit. That's okay, as long as he's standing upright and his base is completely in the circle. At his starting point, even though his tail is sticking out of the circle a little bit, that's okay, it's about his base. But if he gets tipped over, chicken down, that's not going to count. So we want to make sure his base, and if he's partly in that circle, that's 5 points. If he's completely in the circle on his base and upright, that's 10.
When does the chicken start?
The chicken starts in the circle.
So you don't mess with them?
If you don't mess with the chicken, you're good.
Okay.
And he's standing and he's completely in his base. So if you don't mess with the chicken, that's 10 points.
Okay.
The problem with the chicken is he's kind of on this really nice line that is sending you down towards a bunch of stuff. Okay. Doesn't mean the chicken has to stay here the whole match. Okay. But if he's there upright with his base completely or partly in the circle at the end of the match. Remember, things are scored at the end. Mission 13 is platooning trucks. So one platooning truck starts out here, and there are lines on the mat that show you where the tires should be. And then can you see the lines right there? And then one platooning truck starts in home. Okay, that'll be in that black area. So the points are if the trucks are latched together and they're completely outside of home, that's 10 points. If a truck is latched to the bridge, that's 10 points. If both are true, that's another 10 points. So that's a bonus 10 points. Okay. And again, we're not going to be nitpicky over, is it pulled back? If it's latched, clearly latched, or would be latched, we're good. But this, even though you're close, and even though you're touching the red latch, that platoon is not latched. And you're going to have to go past that and latch on there. Okay. And again, what they're meaning by completely out of home, this guy here has to be completely out to be latched to that other platooning truck. All right. So that's rule 13, mission number 13. Mission 14 is the bridge. So the bridge, if the bridge decks are down and rest on the center support. So the center support is dual lockdown. So one bridge down is 10 points. Two bridges down is 10 plus 10 points. So up to 20 points on that one. The setup is important to be paying attention because that latch should be on this side. It should be on the west. I did really
Closest to home.
Yep, closest to home. And I did actually look to see where that was. Okay, so that's the bridge. That's 14. Rule number 15 is cargo. And cargo, here we go. This is starting to get interesting. This is the cargo connect. Things are getting kind of fun here. So there are, ooh, I brought one with me. So, yes, absolutely. Yep, let's ask about the chicken.
Can the chicken be brought home and reloaded to be replaced later? Can you answer that?
Yep, the chicken can be moved out of the way as long as at the end of the match, the chicken is standing upright and its base is partly or completely in its circle.
And then we had one other question.
Okay, one other question.
Could we get a certificate of coach training from you for participating?
Sure.
I think
Email Jeannie.
email Jeannie.
I would say email Bruce for that. Yeah, if you want a certificate, that sounds like a great idea. We'll figure out how to do that. But if you want one, email me and we will get something out to you. Okay, and that's Jeannie, VICKI. No, sorry, Jeannie, JEANNIE at High Tech Kids. All right, load cargo. So there's a lot of cargo. So there's one that starts in the plane. There's 3 that start in home. This blue hinged container, sorry, this is, they call it cargo and then it's containers we're talking about. So the blue container, the blue hinge container, and then I have the 3 containers that were in the orange loading area, the light orange, the lime green, and the blue. Okay, so there are 3 forms of transportation. We have the platooning trucks, the crane, and the train over there. So they can get a maximum of 2 containers per form of transportation. So if they put a container on the platooning trucks, those are 10 points each. They don't have to be 1 on each truck. They can put 2 containers on 1 truck. They can put 3 containers in 1 truck, but only 2 containers are going to count. So that's for a max of 20 points. Okay. Vicki is going to be, actually I'm going to do the train next because they say that's a little bit easier. So containers on the trains are 20 points each. And again, they don't have to be on 1 train. They can be on either train or both trains. So those are 20 points each. So that's a max of 40 points for that one. And then there's 2 more containers, and this can go on the cargo ship's west deck. So that's the one closest to home. And Vicki's going to show you why this is worth more points, because that is tippy. Okay, so that's a challenging one. 2 containers, 30 points each. And again, even though she got them on there and they fell off, she's not going to get points if they're not on there at the end of the match. They have to be on there at the end of the match. You can put as many containers as you want on there, but only 2 containers on each form of transportation will count. The max points you can get for mission 15 is 120 points. 60 on there, an additional 40 on the train, and 20 on the platooning trucks. Cheryl looks like she has a question.
Hey, Lee, you've got a good question. Can a cargo container be put on a platooning truck before it leaves home?
Absolutely. The platooning truck starts in home. There are 3 very nice gray containers in home. That would be awesome for the kids to the robot to push that out. Okay. So that's a great question. Yeah, and that's one of those things where you start thinking, okay, we're moving things. That's how do we combine some of those missions together? So now we're moving that platooning truck out, and we've got cargo on it or a container on it as we go. All right. And this is kind of the big dog. This is kind of the oh my. This is where things can start adding up as the kids get real creative. There are 6 circles on the mat. There's a black circle right here by the cargo plane. There's a green circle next to the switch. There is a blue circle way over here by the helicopter. There's another black circle here. The cargo connect is a circle, and the chicken is in a circle. So there are 6 circles out there. So they get points, and there's a whole bunch of ways to do points here, and they all kind of stack on each other. So therefore, if there are containers in any circle, if they're partly in a circle, that's 5 points. So we've got these containers here. We've got this one here. Actually, that one, when we unloaded the cargo plane, it slid down and is partly in the circle. That counts, even though the kids didn't, the robot didn't physically put it there. So don't count on that. That works about 1 in 5 times, I'm saying. Okay, but that one is partly in. So then the refs are going to go through and count how many containers are partly in a circle. So that's 1, 2, all right. And then they'll go through and they'll count how many containers are completely in a circle. So this blue one is completely in a circle here. So that will be 10 points each. If the blue container, I'm going to switch this one, and that's one that started in this orange sorting rack. If the blue container, not the hinge container, not the one that started here, this is a blue container, but it's blue hinged. If the blue container is in the blue circle, that's another 20 points that's added on. If that lime green container, again, the one that starts way over here, not the one that is connected to the crane. If you peel that one off the crane, you're going to lose points because that is beating up a mission model. If that one is completely in the green circle, that's 10 points added. And then what the refs will do is they will go through and account after they've done the green, the blue, any circle that has at least one container completely in. So the green one is completely in, that blue one is completely in. Let's pretend that gray one is completely in. That's 3 circles with them completely in. That's 10 points each. So it's an additional 30 points. And no, I have not done the math, and I don't know how many is the max points. Still working on that. Because there's a lot of figuring out what is the best place. Is it better to put them on the platooning trucks or put them on that deck? If it's on the deck, it can't be in a circle.
What about this, Jeannie?
That would be one that is partly in a circle.
But not blue.
It is not a blue because blue has to be completely in the circle. Same with the lime, has to be completely in the lime circle. The lime can be in any other circle, but to get that lime matching point, it has to be in the lime, completely in the lime circle. Okay. All right, Cheryl, any questions? All right, super. And then the last mission, which is a weird mission, mission 17, is the precision tokens. What they did a little bit differently this year, so the precision tokens will start in this triangle. If the kids touch the robot or interrupt the robot when it's out, they will lose a precision token. The first precision token is basically free. So if you have 6 left on the field, it's 60 points. If there are 5 left on the field, there's 50 points. 50. Yep, so it's 50-50. And then 4 left on the field, it's 35, and it goes down from there. Okay, so basically you get a free grab your robot, and points aren't counted against you on those precision tokens. And again, have the kids practice with those. So if all they do is show up to the match, plunk their robot down here, their robot doesn't move, they're going to get those precision tokens, and they're going to get the points for the chicken. So show up, even if the robot's not moving. Or think about things that are nice and close to the launch area.
Ready for another question?
Cheryl, yes, I'm ready for a question.
Okay, Jennifer's got a good one.
All right.
Does your cargo plane have the feature where if you push the yellow bar down slowly, the cargo will fall out the back way? Does that count as separation?
Okay, so we have had that question before. All right, so the question is, if you if I move my lever down slowly, will my cargo fall out the back? I have seen this happen. Okay. So my cargo is completely,
Hold on.
it is completely not touching my plane. So I would get points for that. My handle's not down all the way. Okay. So I'm not going to get points for that. Okay. Yep. So you can see it's not touching, but that's dangerous because it's close, but it's not touching. But the kids cannot just reach in here and grab that and bring that into home and use it. And I think that's kind of what people are thinking, ooh, that's really close. They're not gonna be able to grab that and bring that into home. And remember, if something is stranded, partly in home and out of home, and they decide to touch it, they're gonna touch that and the referee's gonna take that away. Okay, and that goes back to the stranded rule. But yes, if you go too slow, I think there's definitely going to be a sweet spot on the speed of lowering that cargo. Any other questions?
Not yet.
Okay, so we have about 5 minutes left. If you have any questions, feel free to send me an email. We will be recording this and we will post it soonish. I'm not sure exactly when, certainly not today or tomorrow, but hopefully early this week. That will be on our website so you can watch it again. If you have any other questions, sorry, I'm being told to go stand back over here. Thank you. So if you have any questions, feel free. There are no silly questions, but read the rules and reread the rules. And then Vicki talked about one of the coach calls we'll be doing will be specifically about the robot game. And that will be the last one we do. And that's when the kids will be practicing. And that's when they're going to start asking you questions and challenging. And you won't know the answers to those.
Can you remind them about registration? Because I forgot to mention. 29.
Registration will open on September 29th. Again, it comes first come, first served at 3 o'clock on the 29th. So register for your tournaments then. Anything else, Cheryl?
Nope.
I think
Oh,
that's
wait.
it. Oh.
Jennifer asked, is it okay to use the walls of the table for measuring leverage, anything like that?
It's absolutely okay to use the walls of the table, and it is a good idea to use the walls of the table. Use those walls in your launch. I've got a nice little robot here with a nice flat back. Make it easy for those kids to launch that robot. Make sure no cables are hanging over. Yep, absolutely use those walls. Use those walls to align. Use them strategically as you're moving around the mat. Sometimes it's a good idea. You'll see some of those more advanced teams back up to that wall so their robot knows where they are. And then I forgot one thing. Gracious professionalism will be evaluated at the performance table, at the game table this year. In each of the kids' 3 rounds, the refs will give them a gracious professionalism scored. They will all automatically start with a 3, which is accomplished. This does not take points away from their robot game. So if they got 300 on the table, they've got 300 on the table. It doesn't add points. It doesn't take points away. If a team really exceeds gracious professionalism, really knocks it out of the park, impresses the refs, or is extremely gracious with the other team, they may move up to a 4. If it looks like that team is maybe needing to develop their gracious professionalism, the ref may give them a 2. Again, we talked that the scores will be given, not the scores, the teams will agree to all the missions that were completed. After the team agrees to that, that is when the ref is going to give the gracious professionalism score. They're not going to do it in front of the kids. And you will get that when you get your rubrics and game performance sheets back. So you will see how the kids did with their gracious professionalism at the game table. Cheryl.
Another good question. Dalen asked, how often and for how long should teams meet per week to work on all of the challenges?
So Dalen asks how often and how long teams should meet to work on the challenges. It really depends on what the goals of the team are. Teams do very well meeting once a week for an hour and a half, 2 hours. There are teams we know that will meet 2, 3, even 4 times a week. You'll generally meet a few maybe not as often initially, but I guarantee you the week before the tournament, you will not be where you think you want to be. And you'll probably amp up and add some more practices or add more time. I've never, ever met a team that felt completely 100% ready to go to a tournament. Even if you're not ready, please come to the tournament. The kids are going to learn a lot. They're probably going to do better than they think they will. So even if they're not ready, or you think they're not ready, bring them to the tournament, come, learn, have a great time. So I didn't really answer the question. I'm not really going, because it really depends on what the team's goals are.
Can a team come to an earlier tournament and watch?
Not this year. I mean, they could watch the stuff in the performance area. I think this year we're going to say
We would prefer not.
we would prefer not.
Try to keep it level.
We're trying to keep the number of exposures down. I mean, who knows? Hopefully maybe we'll get to a point where we can reverse some of our rules, but for right now, and again, they would all have to wear masks. They would not be able to go into judging. They would not go into the pits. They could watch performance tables. Yeah.
The last thing we want is that.
All right. Anything else, Cheryl?
No, not yet.
All right. And we are High Tech Kids. If you have any questions, please feel free to email us or give us a call. And we are here and we hope you guys have a great season. Again, we know it's a crazy season and let's just have a great time. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Good night.
Good night.